Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's kick off our video with a tale about a small startup team that cleverly turned the tables on their micromanaging boss, ultimately gaining more freedom and coming together stronger than ever. But before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button, smash the like if you enjoy the content, and ring that notification bell so you never miss a juicy story. Boss introduces new time tracking tool to avoid time manipulation, backfires on him. I work in a small startup company of around 12 people. It's a very good atmosphere in the office and everyone pulls their weight and is super motivated. However, our boss likes to micromanage us even though he has no expertise in any of our fields. Marketing, design, accounting. Especially us in marketing and design suffer a lot from that since he'll make changes to our strategies, posts, website, sometimes without telling us, and then gets upset at us when the customer feedback is bad and we aren't reaching our predicted goals. So recently he told us that the reason he thinks we aren't seeing enough results is because we're manipulating our hours and not actually putting in the work we should. Until then, we each wrote down our hours manually in an Excel sheet, but with the new time tracking tool, he would see how long we were working down to the minute. We also could only log in on our desk PCs and previously approved home office devices, but not mobile, because if you're not at your desk, it's not work. After our initial shock passed and our boss left for the day, our manager called for a meeting and we came up with a plan. We would do as he says in the most just following the rules way possible. We would not engage in work-related conversations with him unless we are sitting at our desks and are clocked in. Any questions by him which are asked after we're clocked out will only be answered once we clock in again the following day. Every phone call, text message, or otherwise work-related things outside of the office would only be answered once there was an option for us to clock in, either next day in office or for some of us on our home office device. Since we no longer have the option to shift time manually, all work minutes and hours would be clocked exactly when they took place. Side note, in my country, weekends pay better, Sundays have to be paid double, and working after 8 p.m. warrants additional financial benefits by law. Previously, if we needed to post something real quick or had a question, we would just add the weekend hours or late sometime in the upcoming Monday, basically out of goodwill. But no more of that. We would stop any independent activity, like posting on social media or writing an email, and would send him everything to approve before following through. After about a week, our boss was so fed up with this, he gave us the option to clock in from our mobile devices so he could get a more immediate response to his questions. However, this of course led to us clocking in way more frequently, since as I said, he likes to micromanage and is therefore asking a lot of questions. I'm happy to report that as of 2024, we've abolished the system again and regained most of our independence. And even though our boss is still pissed about how we exploited the system, it brought the team closer together and hopefully taught him a lesson. I wonder how many times bad things have to happen before the boss learns that micromanaging is a bad thing. And our second story. Karen wants me to do her shopping for her. For context, I started working at this grocery store chain when I was 16 and transferred to another location at 21. This takes place Halloween of 2022. I had to work during the day shift and my store allows us to dress up, so I wore my John Constantine costume, which I washed once I got home before meeting up with friends to hang out and have fun. We ended up deciding to get some snacks and drinks and stop by the location of our store that was closest to the house we were hanging out at, which happened to be the one I transferred from the year before. While my friends and I were talking about what we wanted, a regular recognized me and asked if I knew where something was, so I told my friends I'll meet back up with them after I helped the customer. I then proceeded to show her where the item was and asked if she needed anything else, and she said no and asked me if I still worked there since she hadn't seen me in a while, so I told her I'd transferred the year before. This is where the Karen comes in. She sees me telling the previous lady to have a good day and doesn't say anything as I walk by to meet up with my friends. Next thing I know, while we're at the register checking out our order, I hear a feminine voice say, "Excuse me, I've been following you around the entire store and you didn't even look at me." I apologized and asked if there was something I could help her with, and she then said that she wanted me to find everything on her list and grab it for her. This is where I realized what was going on and explained I don't work at that location, and even if I did, that's not what the job entails. Her response was, "If you don't work here, then why did you help that other lady?" I replied by telling her that I had worked at this location for a little over 5 years and transferred the year before, so I still knew the store pretty well. And this is when she starts screaming at me to get a manager because she's going to get me fired, and my friends are telling me to ignore her and let's go. I instead decide to piss her off and get the store manager, who knew me since I worked there in the past, and the look on Karen's face when he said I didn't work there anymore, and even if I did, I was clearly off the clock, meaning I didn't need to help her if I didn't want to, was priceless. After she left, I asked him if she's been an issue since I'd left, and he said she's been doing this every week for the past 2 months, and the next time he'll have her trespass because he's getting tired of dealing with her BS. My friends and I had a good laugh once we got in one of their trucks on the way to the house. Her harassing a customer to do her shopping should have been enough to get her trespassed this time. Never mind waiting till she does it again. Harassing employees for personal shopping is one thing, but when she's already pushing it by doing so every week for 2 months, the line should have been considered crossed the second she started doing the same to a customer. And our next story. Ditching a family vacation in favor of going away with my husband. Every year, my family likes to plan a big vacation together. It's usually my mother, my sister, my brother and his wife, my daughter, her husband, and my grandbaby, and finally, me and my husband. We also have open invitations to other various relatives. This year, they wanted to do an all-inclusive resort in Aruba. It was settled and tickets were purchased. While I don't mind going on vacation with family, I have some qualms with the various parties who are attending. Let's start with my mother, who's up in age but hasn't really taken the best care of her body. So she has weight problems that have affected her ability to walk. It's also led to sleep apnea. This means that she can't walk very far without taking tons of breaks and will fall asleep anywhere, which isn't a problem except every time we plan an activity that requires some level of physical fitness, she discourages us from doing it, and she can't have us having fun without her. So we end up scrapping our plans and doing whatever activity she feels she can do. Then there's my brother, who wants to go and can't afford his own way. This leads him to scrounge off my mother to find a way to go. Usually it plays itself out as he says he's going, his ticket gets bought, everything else paid for, and then my mother will have some sort of emergency where we need to help her out. We basically end up giving her close to, if not more, than what it cost for my deadbeat brother to go. And then we spend the rest of the vacation paying for him and mom through meals, tickets to attractions, and anything else that tickles their fancy. As we get closer to the trip, I get rumblings of my mother needing the cash for house repairs, then my brother has to quit his job to go on the trip because the man won't let him off, and my daughter and her husband booked the honeymoon suite. As all this is going down and we confirm flights, accommodations, and excursions, I just nod my head and agree. The day of the trip, we all head to the airport and get through security. As everyone turns left to go to their gate, me and my husband turn the opposite way. They start quizzing us where we are going and are we getting something to eat, can we bring them some? So I just turn to them and say, we've decided to go on a cruise out of Miami. See you guys in a couple weeks. My daughter is irate and says, who's going to watch the baby while we enjoy our second honeymoon? My mother's like, who is going to pay for this for her and pay for that? My brother just looks dumbfounded like he just lost his pet, and they all start to tell me how I'm ruining their vacation and I'm an a-hole and stuff. The funniest part of this is that you didn't even have to do anything to them to exact your revenge. You just let them be, checks notes, exactly who they are, and they end up taking revenge on themselves. Very well played. And our last story. Our neighbor cut down my Nan's tree. I'm so angry right now. My 76-year-old Nan has had a plum tree in her garden for over 30 years. Today, the people in the house opposite decided to chop the whole tree down. A couple of small branches were overhanging into their garden. Wasn't enough to cause damage or safety issue. They crossed way past the boundary line to chop it. I tried knocking on their door a few times for an explanation, but they either weren't home or were ignoring us. Nan is devastated. She's used that tree to make jam and crumble for the whole family every year. It might sound silly, but the tree meant a lot to us. To make matters worse, Nan is currently battling cancer, and her garden is her pride and joy. This tree was a part of her daily joy and routine. After calming down a bit, I decided to take action. I started by documenting everything, taking photos of the stump and the empty space where the tree used to be. I also took pictures of the garden from different angles to show the extent of the loss. Next, I reached out to the local authorities and filed a police report for property damage. I explained the situation in detail, including the sentimental and practical value of the tree for my Nan. They took our report seriously and said they would look into it. I also decided to seek legal advice. I contacted a lawyer who specializes in property disputes and explained the situation. The lawyer was sympathetic and assured me that we had a strong case. They helped us draft a formal letter to our neighbors demanding compensation for the tree and warning of potential legal action if they didn't respond. In the meantime, several neighbors came forward to show their support. One neighbor even offered to help us plant a new plum tree in the garden. Finally, the lawyer's letter must have had an impact because our neighbors reached out and apologized. They claimed they thought the tree was on their property, which was obviously not the case, and agreed to pay for a new tree and any other damages. We used the compensation to plant a new plum tree in Nan's garden. While it'll take time for the new tree to grow and bear fruit, the eventual resolution of the situation brought some peace to Nan. We're hopeful that in a few years she'll be making her delicious jam and crumble again, and in the meantime, she has the support and love of her family and neighbors to lift her spirits. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.